Okay, we are coming back to our class over here, workflow design, important in understanding how to bundle tasks into discrete jobs, and need to understand how jobs at different levels relate. Slide 5, workflow analysis provides a means for managers to understand all tasks required to produce a high-quality product and the skills necessary to perform those tasks. Analyzing work outputs can be a product or a service. So you look at the service you render or the product you produce through your workflow analysis. And you look to see where there are hiccups in the workflow. Perhaps you have inefficiencies. Perhaps the workflow could be faster. Using my office as an example, I work in a medical office. If patients wait in the lounge too long, we have to analyze. Is there something wrong with our process? Or is it a slow doctor? Sometimes a doctor is slow, nothing you could do about it. It's the way they practice medicine. But if it's anything on our end, for example, clinical, maybe they're not taking the patient in quick enough to take vitals, or the CBC machine is old and it runs slow and it causes a backup, then we have justification for buying a new machine because it impacts workflow. And if workflow is impacted, we see less patients. We see less revenue, and that's not something we want to ever have. Slide number 6, figure 4.1, developing a work unit activity analysis. Here we see, if you look at 4.1 over here, we see the raw inputs, the equipment, and human resources all going into the activity and to the output. So the raw inputs are what materials, data, and information are needed, the equipment, what special equipment, facilities, and systems are needed, and of course the human resources, what knowledge, skills, and abilities are needed by those performing the tasks. And of course that flows into the activity, looking to see what tasks are required in the production of the output. And the output itself, what product, information, or service is provided, and how is the output measured. Slide number 7, workflow analysis and organizational structure. Workflow analysis continued, analyzing work processes, how is the output generated, team-based job design, which is sometimes important to have everyone on the team help you design a job, because the more people you have involved, the more perspective, especially people who know the job very, very well, be very helpful. And of course, we move on here. Learn lean production. We look to see where we can cut corners, obviously not in quality. Analyzing work inputs, raw materials, equipment, and human skills. Just-in-time inventory reduces your how much inventory you carry, and that as you're running out, a new delivery comes in, and basically that is accomplished by having the computer systems linked together. And when you have the computer systems linked together, the computer system of the producer knows how much product you've used up, and then is able to send you what you need when you need it, as opposed to carrying high levels of inventory. And of course, the amount of equipment that you need. So the work processes are the activities, again, that members of a work unit engage in to produce a given output. Lean production refers to the process developed in Japan but then adopted worldwide, emphasizing manufacturing goods with a minimum amount of time, material, money, and the most important people. So you become a lean, mean fighting machine, you cut down, and unfortunately that means less jobs. And sometimes that's done through automation. Japan is big into automation. And of course, that's sad for workers. That's why, honestly, in today's day and age, having super skills, high-level computer skills, writing skills, etc., are so important, because otherwise you may find yourself out of work and have a machine do your job. If you're highly literate and you're talented and you have a lot of knowledge, it's almost impossible to replace you. But if you're doing manual labor, it's very, very easy to replace you. Just look at what happened to all the toll booth people. Pretty much all of them have been replaced by EasyPass. And there was a lot of pushback. I remember years ago when EasyPass first came into being. It's because no one wanted to lose their jobs. But sitting there and collecting a toll doesn't require the highest skill. And as such, they kind of, if you never improve your skills, you are in danger of losing your job. Now, we look at organizations. We can look at an organization to see if it's centralized or if it's departmentalized. Centralized refers to the degree to which decision-making authority resides at the top of the organizational chart, as opposed to being distributed throughout the lower levels, in which case authority is decentralized. So again, centralized has its positives in that if something is centralized, you have more accountability, you have one person who's in charge, and also it's watched better. What do I mean that it's watched better, it's policed better? You have one person involved. The less people that could screw it up. And if you mess it up, you know that you messed it up. Departmentalization refers to the degree to which work units are grouped based on functional similarity. In other words, departmental similarity. The reason why the department is called a function is because each department serves a different function, so that's just another buzzword. So again, departmentalization refers to the degree to which work units are grouped based on functional similarity of similar workflow. Move on to the next slide. Workflow analysis and organizational structure. Organizational structure continues, structural configurations, functional structure, high levels of centralization, very efficient with little redundancy, meaning there's little repetition in the workflow. As such, there is less waste. If you have duplication of services, of course you have inefficiencies. Just to go back to Frederick Taylor and Principles of Management, that's what he sought to do with scientific management, to reduce the amount of steps that it takes to do a job. And that's why he did his time and motion studies, to reduce redundancies and to make a leaner, meaner organization where each employee will actually be able to produce more for management and as such become more valuable to the organization. Unfortunately, his model was not looked at from the workers' perspective, and of course there was massive pushback from employees and pretty much a revolt in a sense. Okay, moving back. The next slide, slide number 10, basically is a little bit of a organizational chart looking at from functional structure. So you would have a president of the organization on top with all his or her vice presidents of different departments. As you see, we have a VP of marketing, a VP of engineering, a VP of manufacturing, finance, personnel, and legal affairs. And each one has its own function. And of course, let's look at the VP of marketing. They'll have in the function of marketing, there'll be marketing research, sales, and records. In manufacturing, you'll have shipping and receiving, production, and quality. And within that, you have different plants. And within those plants, you have supervisors. And within those supervisors, you have assembly workers that report directly to those supervisors. This very tall organization, the reason why it's a tall organization is, as you see, there's multiple layers in between each level of management and functionality. And of course, there is a chance when you have such a tall structure that you will have distortion. Messages will not necessarily be disseminated properly from the top all the way down to the bottom. And as such, you may have some situation there. Now, if you jump to the long description here, pretty much says what I said. The president is at top, followed by the VP for each functional area, marketing, engineering, etc., reporting to the VP, to the vice presidents of subunits such as sales and quality assurance, reporting to manufacturing subunits of the plants with layers of supervisors and assembly workers, which is pretty much what I said in a nutshell. Now, we move on to divisional structure. Divisional structure is based on products or services, and a geographic structure, which is not covered here, would obviously be based on geography. So you would have Honda USA, Honda Europe, Honda Japan, Honda whatever, okay? But in this situation, we have the president with all his or her vice presidents of different departments. And then, for example, the vice president of automotive components would have automotive marketing, automotive engineering, automotive manufacturing, and automotive personnel, different divisional structures within a particular function. And then you have geographic, as I mentioned before. All right. Then you have client structure based on the clients that you service. For example, VP of military contracts, VP of consumer products, VP of government contracts, VP of corporate contracts, VP of financial services. Let's look at workflow analysis and organizational structure. Continued structure and the nature of jobs. Jobs and functional structures need to be narrow and highly specialized. Managers of divisional structures often need to be more experienced or high in cognitive ability, meaning smart. Cognitive ability means they have a lot of cognition, they have a high level of smarts. relative to management of functional structures, which takes a lot of skill. Job analysis. Now, sometimes it's a work redesign. Just think of it as it wasn't working before, now we have to redo the way it's being done. Look to see, is there too much, too little? Because remember, too many things to do in a job could lead to what? What can too much? Overloaded. You just fritz out. You just can't do it. And of course, nothing is done correctly. And imagine if it's not just one job that is poorly designed, but multiple jobs that are poorly designed. Then you can have a system failure. Your whole organization can fall apart because if everyone is overwhelmed, nothing gets done. Also look at human resource planning, selection, training and development, performance appraisal. Super important. You always want to have feedback, career planning, of course, job evaluation. So the importance of job analysis to the line manager. The line manager is the guy basically at the bottom taking care of the employees. All right? Must have detailed info about all the jobs in their work group to understand the workflow process. So they have to understand who reports to them, who are the people around them. They have to know what's going on. Need to understand the job requirements to make intelligent hiring decisions, are responsible for ensuring that each individual is performing satisfactorily. Must ensure that the work is being done safely. Job descriptions. You look at TDRs, tasks, duties, and your responsibilities, and job specification, knowledge, skill, ability, and other characteristics. And that is known as KSAOs. Sounds like something from Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'll have some KSAO. And not directly observable. Now, source of job analysis information, subject matter experts. Those are the people that, who are the people that you ask when you make a job design? Well, the first person or the first group of people you ask is subject matter experts. SMEs are the people that are experts in those areas. So if you're creating a job within the IT department, you're not going to ask people in food services. Why? People in food services are experts in food services. They're not experts in IT. And IT people don't know how to make omelets necessarily. Maybe they do, but that's not their main function.
Everyone knows how to make omelets.
But not my own cheese omelets, they're the best. But in any case, so you look at the subject matter experts, then you look at the job incumbents, the people that could be coming in, supervisors, and of course, your social networks. Let's look at job incumbent. Let's see. Let's go wild, wacky internet. Oh man. Can somebody turn on the light, please? Okay. A job incumbent is a person who holds a position. So, excuse my error. Use of incumbent to describe job applicant based on dictionary definition as a noun, person who holds a position. So the people that hold the position are also going to be asked about what's going on within the organization. We move on. Now, job analysis methods. Job analysis is the process of getting detailed information about a job, and there are two aspects to it. Ladies, is the camera jumping on your end? Do you see me jumping around? Hello? Hello, everybody. Are you still connected?
Yeah, hi.
I see a lot of like flashing in the bottom of my screen. Do you see me flashing or am I steady?
No, you're good.
I'm good? Okay. Because I got a little bit of a disco situation over here. Everyone's, hi Tova, I see a room there. You're hiding behind, I think I see you hiding behind the door. Hi. Okay. Fine. No, I just see everything is like flashing. What?
My video's off.
Okay, no, I see you now, but I'm putting it down here in the bottom so no one's going to see anybody. All right, so let's talk about job analysis is the process of getting detailed info about a job. Two recognized methods, position analysis questionnaire, and the Occupational Informational Network. The ONET is actually a database. We'll look at both. I've actually took the liberty and looked it up. Let's look at positioning questionnaire. Our good old friend Wikipedia. So, position analysis questionnaire is a job analysis questionnaire that evaluates job skill levels and basic characteristics of applicants for a set match of employment opportunity. So it's kind of a matchmaking service between employee types and or personalities and skills, really more skills, and of course the jobs themselves. So again, PAQ was developed at Purdue University by McCormick, E.J., and Jenneret and Meacham in 1972. The PKO method involves a series of detailed questioning to produce many analysis reports. This method is widely used within the industrial and organizational psychology, individual psychology assessment, and human resource departments, and can be easily administered by an individually trained in job analysis. So it's pretty much an out-of-the-box solution for analyzing jobs. Pretty cool. I think I've seen it done where I used to work back in the city years ago. Pretty interesting method. Now, here's another thing we're going to look at. We're going to look at ONET, Occupational Information Network. The ONET is a free online database that contains hundreds of occupational definitions to help students, job seekers, businesses, and workforce development professionals to understand today's world of work in the U.S. It was developed under the sponsorship of the U.S. Department of Labor, Employment and Training, USDOL/ETA, through a grant to the North Carolina Employment Security Commission, now part of the North Carolina Commerce Department during the 1990s. John L. Holland's vocational model, often referred to as the Holland Codes, is used in insert sections of the ONET. Okay, so we have, you can look at Wikipedia. This is a fabulous, it's a tremendous amount of information that was gathered on this very, very important subject. So it's basically a database. Okay, we move on. I think tonight's chapter is a nice little, this is real HR. This is the real nuts and bolts of HR. Understanding jobs, job analysis, understanding workflow. All the terms that are coming out, like workflow is a term that's used extensively throughout HR. If you hear the word workflow and you don't know what it means you really haven't really studied HR well. Okay, job analysis continued. The dynamic elements of job analysis. Jobs change and evolve over time. And the reason they change and the reason they evolve over time is because there are changes in technology, changes in processes, and all these things make the jobs, sometimes they upgrade jobs tremendously. I know that the job that I currently work in a medical clinic, I started out in 2012, almost everything that I was trained in has changed since the day that I walked in. So if I was merely doing my job the same way as I did 8 years ago, I'd be a dinosaur right now. The fact is that everything changed and the process has changed, and my workflow has changed tremendously, and my responsibilities, and the way that I do my work. Now I am definitely different at what I do. So again, job change and evolve over time. The job analysis process must also detect changes in the nature of jobs. De-jobbing, that's an interesting word. De-jobbing, not jogging, de-jobbing. Viewing organizations as a field of work needing to be done rather than a set of discrete jobs held by specific individuals. So it's more of a holistic approach than an individual approach. We move on. Mechanistic approach, identify the simplest way to structure work that maximizes the efficiency. Scientific management, as we already mentioned earlier, so by the time we get to it, we're already well versed in it. Scientific management workers are trained in the one best way to do a job, then select on their ability to do the job. And I think we're going to show a video after we're done with this about scientific management because we spoke so much about it, why not? And of course, monetary incentives. So again, just a little bit of info on the bottom of the slide. We're in slide number 21 of 28. The mechanistic approach has roots in classical industrial engineering. The focus of the mechanistic approach is identifying the simplest way to structure work that maximizes efficiency. Scientific management was one of the earliest and best known statements of the mechanistic approach. According to this approach, productivity can be maximized by making a scientific approach to the process of designing jobs. So looking at a job was the same as observing water turning into ice. empirical evidence. You look at things change. You look to see what the causes are, what the effects are, and as such, you're able to really, really understand what is going on in the organization. So it's a science. There's no guesswork. There's no rule of thumb. Everything is very, very tight and very scientific and provable. Motivational approach, focusing on psychological and motivational potential of a job. Motivation, I think, is probably the most important subjects in management, and it touches in all areas. Attitudinal variables are important. Job characteristics model. We speak about this in Principles of Management when we spoke about the ACAT exam. For those of you you were in my business policy class, we spoke about the job characteristics model. Skill variety, task identity, autonomy, being free, feedback, task significance all lead to high levels of motivation. So again, the motivational approach to job design has roots in the organizational psychology and management literature, and in many ways emerged as a reaction to mechanistic approaches. So we moved away from the mechanistic and more to motivational. It focuses on the characteristics that affect psychological meaning and motivational potential, and it views attitudinal variables such as satisfaction as the most important outcome of the job design. It's kind of like a miniature version, in a sense, of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where self-actualization, total satisfaction, being all that you could be, is the ultimate goal. And Simon Sinek talks about this, and he wants to envision a world one day where people wake up in the morning energized and ready to go to work, even on Monday, even when people don't want to go to work, people are happy to go to work. If you're that lucky that every day when you wake up, you're happy to go to work and you're just jump in and ready to go, that's a big blessing. And I can honestly say that I'm blessed to an extent that I do it here, teaching, I can honestly say on most days, when I'm not too tired, but I do enjoy doing this. And that's important for every job, that you try to design a job in such a way that people will actually like it. You don't design a job where people are going to be like, ugh. That's why assembly line workers, if you really want to make sure they don't get bored, give them task variety. Give them a bunch of different things that they could do so that they don't get bored. Because boredom is a killer. We move on with job design, slide number 23. Biological approach, also called ergonomics, examines the interface between individuals' physiological characteristics and the physical work environment. The word ergonomics is used many times with office furniture. You have an ergonomically correct office chair where there's a lumbar support, and basically it's the right height and it's movable. And of course, you have a lot of the new furniture, like they have these workstations where you could stand, because I guess the literature says that you should get up and move around. I have one of these smartwatches, and if I'm sitting at my desk for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and I haven't moved, there are times where you get really, really busy. You ever get to a zone, and you're really busy with something, and all of a sudden an hour passes, and like, whoa, my watch just lights up. Hey man, do some torso twists. It's time to move a little bit. Ergonomics is very, very important. So it's applied to redesigning equipment for jobs that are physically demanding, and not just physically demanding, but also where you're looking at things, and looking at the same thing for many, many hours can damage your eyes. And I have a screen protector at work, which avoids glare. It also does not allow anybody to see over my shoulder, which is great, because if I'm working on something private, nobody's business, nobody should be looking. But it's very, very important to keep these things in mind. And so, of course, it provides a climate that values safety and health. Slide 24, perceptual motor approach designs jobs that don't exceed people's mental capabilities and limitations. You don't want to fritz anybody's circuits, and based on the least capable worker. So perceptual motor approach focuses on human mental capabilities and limitations. The goal is to design jobs in a way that ensures they not exceed people's mental capabilities and limitations. I don't know why it's based on the least capable worker. I think it should be based on a middle of the road worker, because the least capable worker really is the outlier. Outlier meaning the person outside of what is normal. I wouldn't be comfortable basing an entire system on the worst person working for you. I wouldn't base it on the best person working for you, because it would skew the results. I would be much more comfortable with basing it on middle, because the middle is not too smart, not too dumb, just right. And that's honestly, I feel, the best way to do it. But no one consulted me, thankfully. Job design continued. Slide 25, technology. Absence presence results when interacting with multiple media. Technology can increase opportunities for errors, and SBAR method. Originally developed in a commercial and military aviation as a means to hand off an airplane moving through different people's airspace to standardize communication protocols at the handoff point in medical context. If you want, we can look at this. We'll actually look at this right now because the rest of the slides are just appendices. Let's take a look at SBAR, and we'll look at that. It's an interesting term. All right, not Sabaro. All right, so it's an acronym. Again, our friend Wikipedia. For situation, background, assessment, recommendation, a technique that can be used to facilitate prompt and appropriate communication. This communication model has gained popularity in healthcare settings, especially amongst professions such as physicians and nursing. It is a way for healthcare professionals to communicate effectively with one another, and also allows for important info to be transferred accurately. The format of SBAR allows for short, organized, and predictable flow of information between professionals, which of course limit distortion and errors. Okay, so we finished the lecture part. Now we're going to do some videos. For those of you who are zoomed in, continue to be zoomed in. And for those of you who are watching this online, well, I bid you adieu, and I will see you next week.